So just to kick things off, our focus for today is how you can ensure your remote workers remain secure whilst they're working from home and then kind of going forward as we return back to the office. And then also how you can ensure that whilst you're investing in this technology, how they're then adopting it going forward. So this is going to remain a very high level overview session. We don't plan to go into any sort of technical pitch at any point. But if that is obviously something that you would be interested in, we can set up a separate session just to kind of go through that. So just to introduce you to your hosts for today, we've got Dave and Rick, who are solutions engineers here at Netic, and then we've got Mark, who is our training and adoption consultant. So if you have any questions for them whilst we're kind of running through, you can submit them in the Q&A box in the right-hand side of the screen, or I have put their email addresses on the slide so you can get in contact with them directly if there is anything that you would like to ask them specifically. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to the guys to kick off the session today.
Thank you, Laura. So yeah, hi, I'm David Fox. I'm the APAC Solutions engineer. So what we're looking to do today is cover off the staying secure while you're working from home, and the 4 areas of interest that we'll be covering today focus around VPN, multi-factor authentication, roaming user protection, and then also the security just around WebEx meetings, because obviously at the moment there's a lot of people working remotely, and one of the key ways to collaborate and stay connected has been using WebEx meetings. So we're looking around the security around that. So to start off with, we'll cover off VPNs. So just briefly, what is a VPN? So VPN, virtual private network. So this is how our remote workers will be able to connect to the corporate network and connect securely as well. So the virtual private network, it is an encrypted connection over the internet to access the private corporate network. It will help to ensure that sensitive data is safely transmitted and prevent the unauthorized people from eavesdropping on that traffic. What we're looking at here is the Cisco product, the AnyConnect product. So Cisco AnyConnect will enable your employees to work anywhere, and whether that be from the company laptop or in fact personal mobile devices. Also, that product, it will also give the visibility and the control to the security teams and let them identify who and which devices are accessing the infrastructure. So just around that, so on the head end of that connection, we're going to have some customer premise equipment, so whether that be hardware or virtual devices. And generally, we would expect potentially 20 to 30% of workforce to actually be utilizing those VPN connections. But what we're seeing at current with this global pandemic, we're seeing that like hit 100%. So some customers, some clients have got all their people working remotely, and the head end device is basically there to support 100% of the workforce connecting remotely. So some of the challenges there, that head end capability, whether it be some of the smaller ranges, some of the smaller models from the ASA range, would only support, say, 50 to 100 remote connections, or some of the larger ones, like excess of 5,000 connections. So what we're looking at as well is what Cisco can offer during this time. So there are trials available. We do have a section to detail the trials later in this presentation. But what I'll just briefly cover off is just with the Cisco AnyConnect product, Cisco are offering a 90-day trial. So with that trial, you can actually, if you've just got a license to allow for 100 connections, that trial license can actually push your license allowance up to the maximum capability of your head end device. So if you've got a, like say a 5545 ASA, and you can have the capability for excess of 2,000 AnyConnect connections, but you're not licensed for that, then by all means, you can look at making use of that 90-day trial and increase that license allowance to meet the capability of that device for the period of the trial. So that's what we're seeing for some clients, that they're looking to get more support for their remote working. and do that securely through the VPN. So if that's of interest, we'll do some more detail on that later on. And obviously, by all means, you can get in touch and we can assist with getting you onto that trial license as required. So that's basically the VPN connection, just summarized. Again, as Laura mentioned, we're doing it from a high level. But if there is more information you require on that, by all means, get in touch with our team or drop a question in the Q&A. So moving on from that, we look at multi-factor authentication. So this ties in brilliantly with the AnyConnect product as well, just to ensure that the person that you're looking to get connected is in fact someone who should be connecting to your corporate network. So multi-factor authentication, Duo is the product that Cisco uses for this. That was an acquisition. So Cisco acquired Duo and have been working closely on developing and integrating this product over the past few years. So Duo utilizes a zero trust security solution for device verification and is suitable for organizations of all sizes. So essentially what Duo is looking to do is it's looking to verify the identity of the user before granting them access to corporate applications and resources. So you're going to be basically keeping unwanted people from your network by using this product. It'll give you detailed insight into every type of device that's accessing your applications across every platform. So that includes when users are connecting from mobile or tablet devices, whether that be iOS, Android, you can get information like the versions, ensuring that they've got the correct security profiles on these devices. So you can actually check the security posture and verify that the trust of these devices is up to the corporate standard. And that can be their corporate devices or personally owned devices before they're accessing your applications. So great product to basically ensure that everything that you've got and hold precious within inside the organization is only getting to the required people in your workforce. It gives you a consistent login experience, whether that be on-premise, whether it be accessing cloud applications. And the beauty of it is its simplicity. It's such a simple product. We use it with the push verification. So you can have, when it's doing the authentication, it can do a call, it can do a text message, or it can do the push notification. What we find is that push notification is just the simplest for end users. It allows you to keep making that trust, keep verifying that the relevant people are connecting without impacting, without detrimenting their work. And the integration of Duo, it works well, as I just mentioned before, it works very well with the ASA. So if you're doing ASA single sign-on, SSL VPN, IPsec VPN, it can work hand in hand with that. Allow for not just your authentication to Active Directory, say, but also through a mobile device to ensure that it's the correct person that's using that. Duo is also good. It works well with Cisco WebEx. It works well with Umbrella. And yeah, it's just that extra level of security that we're looking for in this day and age with a lot of people working remotely. Again, we'll be talking about trials available on Duo. So Duo do offer a 10-user trial, but at present, they're actually waiving the capacity limit. So if you actually activate the trial on Duo, you can get that for an unlimited devices for the duration of the trial. So that is, yeah, so the two-factor authentication that's part of the Cisco product is the Duo application. And that's what we use heavily for just ensuring it helps, as it says on the screen there, it's protecting against phishing attempts, it's establishing that device and user trust, and ensuring secure access to all the applications that we're looking to protect. So as I said again, just on the flow of this, Duo works well with Umbrella, and Umbrella is what we're looking at next. So as we've mentioned, we've got a lot of people roaming. There's probably a stat out there on what percentage of the workforce is remote. I'm guessing that is incredibly high in some countries. Australia has probably not been impacted as harshly as the likes of Europe and the United States. but I'm sure that percentage is very high. We're seeing, even in Australia, we're seeing multiple companies that are just making sure that all workforces are working remotely. And that's where Cisco Umbrella really comes in helpful. So this is the roaming user protection. When you've got your remote workers, you can just ensure that they're not inside the network and you've got the corporate firewall outside the network. This just helps to protect these devices, again, whether it be corporate laptops or personal devices. So Cisco Umbrella, the global network, it's built from the ground up, scale in mind. It's actually processing like billions of DNS requests. So this was the formation of OpenDNS, which Cisco acquired, and millions of users around the world are accessing and securing DNS requests through the use of Cisco Umbrella. It's actually running across multiple data centers throughout the world, and coupling in with Anycast routing, it's basically going to ensure that when a user request is sent for authentication, that you're going to hit the fastest and closest available data center. It's got automated failover between these. So you can just essentially guarantee that your users will be able to process these DNS requests and be secure in that network. As it's running across the global data centers throughout the Cisco infrastructure, they've actually said it's got a 100% uptime. So essentially, it's guaranteed that it will be available for the use of your workforce. There's no hardware required on the end user device. It's just a thin client. And what we're seeing, what we're seeing is the actual corporate policy then is extended to the laptop that's being used at home. The DNS layer security is providing the fastest, easiest way to improve security. It's helping secure visibility. It will detect compromised systems, protecting users on and off the network, and it will actually stop threats before they reach your endpoints, before they can actually get within your network. So example being, if a user was to receive an email with an erroneous, like a malware link, that link can be authenticated and denied by Umbrella prior to them actually opening the link and causing damage to their secure data. It's got a secure web gateway. It will log, it will inspect web traffic. It can check URL, application controls. As I mentioned, it's protecting against malware. Firewall logs, again, activity and is logged. Unwanted blocks will be logged. And it's working across IP ports, protocols. Essentially, it's just securing the network. Off the back of that, Umbrella is actually, the way it's actually looking for the information on what should be blocked is through a product called the Cisco Talos. So what I'll do is I'll just briefly touch on Cisco Talos, and that is an intelligence group. It's actually the largest commercial threat intelligence team in the world. It was the formation, so back in the day, SourceFire was one of the products that Cisco acquired. They took that team, they merged it with their own security teams. It's now a team in excess of 300 engineers that operate this intelligence team. Yeah, as I mentioned, it's the largest, as you see on the screen. It's comprised of world-class researchers, analysts, and engineers. The teams are supported by unrivaled telemetry and sophisticated systems to create accurate, rapid, and actionable threat intelligence. So they're identifying customers against, they're defending customers against known and emerging threats. They're sampling malware every day. They're identifying these vulnerabilities. And with the integration to Umbrella, they're preventing your users from hitting these malwares. So that's the Talos is the intelligence behind a lot of the Cisco security applications, and it's just there to ensure that the products, those end client products, they know what to defend your network against. So that's the Cisco Talos. So with the Umbrella again, we'll be looking at the trials that are available from Cisco. Their standard 14-day trial can be extended up to 90 days. So that's something that we can assist with. So again, when we look at the trial links a little later on in the presentation, you can certainly come to any of the guys, the team at Netic, and we can assist with getting you an extended trial if that's something that would be of assistance for you guys. So that basically covers off the roaming protection. That's the third in the products that I'll be talking to today. And the final one is just while we are working remotely and we're looking to collaborate, I mentioned that Cisco WebEx is one of the key products that we use. So this allows all team members to be able to talk, to be able to use video, as we're seeing in the presentation today. It keeps an integration of the team as it's dispersed. And it's Cisco WebEx is the most secure way to collaborate today. It's got a security first approach to remote working. And it's shown by the uptake in the Fortune 500. The stats are that WebEx is trusted by 95% of companies who are in the Fortune 500. So you can see that it's well utilized by where security is a key factor. WebEx, they're not looking to sacrifice speed for security. Security is the top priority in the design, development, and deployment of its products. And you can incorporate Cisco WebEx meetings into your business processes with confidence because it's got the most rigorous security. It's been through the most rigorous security checks, let's say, and it will fit in with the requirements of your business. So if you do have very strict security requirements, Cisco WebEx would work for your solution. As on the slide, it can offer end-to-end encryption. So by standard, Cisco uses TLS 1.2, Cisco WebEx. So all the audio streams, the video streams, the screen share, the document share, everything is encrypted using TLS. By default, that would be sent to the WebEx server as an encrypted stream. The WebEx server can decrypt that for use of products such as WebEx recording, for video devices to connect in. So you can have the WebEx accessible by the Cisco media servers in the cloud, or if, as you say, on the first option of the slide, if you do require true end-to-end encryption, there is an offer to remove that functionality. So if you do require that high end of security and need true end-to-end, Cisco WebEx Cloud will not decrypt the media streams as it would do for the normal connections. So it will establish a TLS channel. It will basically generate key pairs. It will send the public key to the host client and then send the encrypted symmetric key back to the client. So everything will be secured between the client devices and not through the cloud. So that way you're seeing end-to-end encryption. With that, you wouldn't be able to have the network-based recordings, but you would see true end-to-end encryption. So for very secure information streams, that is one of the features of WebEx meetings. So by default, none of the in-meeting content will be stored. Streams are all passed through. The only things that would be stored is when you actually actively select a recording. So it does show that recordings stored in the cloud are optional. We are recording this session today, so there will be a recording made and stored for this session because we opted to do that. By default, that will not happen. There'll be nothing stored in the cloud. So even though a recording is being made today and it's going up into the cloud, that is also encrypted. So Cisco uses the 256 block AES for encryption. So again, even though the recording's in the cloud, that is stored securely. It can then be downloaded to your private network and then deleted from the cloud. So you can delete at any time any recordings that have been made. And as mentioned on the slide, there is a bulk deleting option. And yeah, again, it mentions encryption there. Everything around the Cisco WebEx suite is encryption. So you can guarantee security on there. And just to sort of factor that in, Cisco worked with multiple third-party validators to basically be audited and validated against those accreditations. So they are ISO 27001 certified as on Netic. They are SOC 2 audited, FedRAMP certified, C5, and the Privacy Shield framework as well. So there's 5 independent security validations that have been made against Cisco WebEx. So that's why you could sort of hands down say Cisco WebEx is the most secure remote working collaboration solution. The final piece on the slide is the cognitive collaboration. So Cisco has done a lot of development recently. Part of that is like say facial recognition. So while we're all in a meeting, it can actually, the camera can analyze your face. It could identify, it can see that I am David Fox from Netic. I'm a solutions engineer, and it can actually tag that on the screen. So there's some of the cognitive features that are available. But to secure that, obviously that is an optional addition. So that can be disabled. You don't need to have that on. So again, security front of mind. By default, that would all be off. But if it is a feature that's required, it's there and available. And that pretty much is the detail I have today just around the Cisco WebEx security. There are some other options around what an end user can actually do. And what I'll do is I'll hand over to Mark, who can actually go through and detail the options available around securing the personal meetings.
Thanks, David. As David's like sort of covered quite a lot of the technical back end, I thought I'd take an opportunity to actually cover from the front end, from what the end user needs to consider around the security. With Cisco WebEx, you've got 2 areas of secure collaboration. One is obviously the back end in the control hub, but the other side is the front end, where the end user is able to actually have some control over how they do actually secure their meetings, how they're able to actually make changes on the fly. But also one advantage with WebEx is the various centers that you're able to use as part of the product. So you have your sort of personal meeting rooms and your WebEx meetings. And then depending on licensing and or Cisco licensing and Flex and that type of thing, you may get access to the event center and the training center. And that's especially important around security of data when you're delivering online webinars like this out to a larger audience outside of your organization. So any data that you're actually sharing is secured in the way of people being able to actually download and pull information from your slides, but also how you actually share meeting information out around sort of the overviews of meetings, and also any documentation that needs to be added to a WebEx event. Say, for instance, a sort of an internal all hands meeting where you want to actually provide the users with some documentation that can actually be added to the meeting, but it's actually secured in the same way the IT is actually, the video stream is secured, so people are able to get access to the documentation, and as soon as the meeting is closed, they can't get access to the documentation anymore. But the end users need to actually consider how they can actually change their pins, not actually share that detail around to anybody else, so they can actually access. And again, this is where communications out to end users is actually important, to make sure that they understand what they need to do as part of their joining your organizations, and what they need to do to actually set up for collaboration. Meetings are actually the recordings and the passwords against them. So any recordings that are actually saved by an individual, they're able to actually get access to. But also from a server side, you have a view of all of the meeting recordings that have been done, and they can actually be deleted via the system admin if necessary, so that they can actually be removed from the servers. There is actually documentation within the meetings as well, so any questions and things like that that are actually asked as part of the conversation, part of the collaboration meeting, those things can be saved. And they're actually detailed like so at the end of the meeting, so that you're able to actually save the Q&A files. But again, once they're actually not saved, they're actually deleted from the server. So again, for more security. if you are setting up different meetings using things like Event Center, you're able to actually secure against somebody's email address. So if you get somebody that's invited to a session like this one and it gets forwarded on to somebody else, you can actually make the decision whether or not to actually allow those forwards to actually happen. People have to actually be registered to join. So again, so there is a security element of people just joining unannounced. There's ability to actually lock your rooms and make sure that that actually happens. So when everybody's in, you're able to actually lock the room. But outside of that, you can actually set it so as soon as you join, the room is actually locked, and only people with the right authentication, i.e. email address or password that you've actually sent, can actually enter that locked room. And also, as we're actually doing here, we're actually sharing the application in the presentation itself. We're not actually sharing your screen. You're actually, the document is uploaded into the server. That's actually there to be used by all of the panelists that are actually on, and you're not actually sharing that document outside and potentially, again, losing that IP of actually sharing the presentation around. So that's some of the ways that hosts can actually secure meetings. Over the past 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and if Laura just drops onto the next page. Thank you. Over the past sort of 5, 6 weeks, a lot of the work that we've actually been working with customers is the communications out to individuals, basically making them aware of what's available to them, how they're able to actually work, how to secure things, and also being aware of security threats that have suddenly become a lot more prevalent now. Whereas before we had sort of one organization that was very much secured. If you've got 600 staff and they're all working from home, you've got 600 some extra network points at the end that need to actually be fully secured. And as David said, the various VPNs and things are there to actually secure, but people have to actually realize that people are taking advantage of these times. So if they are actually using their laptops a lot more from home, if they happen to have actually sort of going onto different sites that may not have the right level of security or threat, they just need to actually understand their corporate devices and the corporate policy. So again, it's been very much a case of communicating out with end users, being able to actually share information with them in easy ways for them to understand. And a lot of that is about metrics. So how do we actually push information out to users that we can actually check that all of those users have actually seen, that they've acknowledged, how that information is to be utilized, and then also giving them access to that help at the moment of need. Our working hours have all sort of changed. We have the ability to actually be a lot more flexible in what we do. So how do we get help and assistance from support outside of sort of those working hours? So again, the communication of training materials has actually been really important at this time. So Netic as an organization has a training division, and we're able to actually help and assist any organizations with training up and communicating with users and making sure the right information is actually shared with them. I think we're going to Robert.
Indeed, looks like Q&A first.
So we've had some questions whilst you guys have been talking. I'll let you guys kind of decide who wants to answer each one. So the first question we've got is Duo agnostic and can it work with all different VPN solutions?
Yeah, so I can jump in there, Laura. So Duo is obviously owned by Cisco. It doesn't actually mean that it's solely working with Cisco. It will work with basically all other vendors of VPN. So the likes of Palo Alto, Fortinet, Checkpoint, they all support the use of Duo. So yeah, it's not locked down to Cisco by any means, but obviously we strongly sort of recommend Cisco across the board.
Perfect. So the next question that we've got is how quickly can Umbrella be deployed?
Yeah, again, I can jump in there. So essentially, it's a very quick deployment. So you could actually look at doing a migration to Umbrella by site, by office, by location. Essentially, it's an update to the DNS that's currently in use. and pointing that to the Cisco umbrella DNS. So the urban myth is that Cisco actually migrated their entire European DNS to umbrella inside of 15 minutes. So if that urban myth is correct, then that gives you a very good indication of how quick it can be, done.
Amazing. And then I think I've got one for Mark here, actually. Someone has asked, what is the difference between a WebEx meeting and a personal meeting room?
I think Mark's on mute.
There you go. Thank you. So personal meeting rooms are very much a sort of an open area inside your organization. So you basically have a link address that actually has your name at the end of it. If you want to set up a quick meeting, somebody can actually join you in your personal meeting room very quickly, which you're able to secure. So you're able to get notifications that somebody is actually in your meeting room, or somebody has joined your meeting room, or somebody is actually waiting to join your personal meeting room. But essentially, it's available all the time. A WebEx meeting actually has a meeting ID against it, and so it's set up, and as soon as it's actually complete, if it's a scheduled one where it has a number of sessions, as soon as those sessions are actually complete, then the meeting actually disappears. Event Center is very much a one-off, so you actually build an event so that you actually have a WebEx event like this, and as soon as it's actually complete, again, it disappears, apart from if you've actually made a recording or saved the files. And then you have WebEx Training Center, which again is generally a one-off or a short series of training sessions. But again, it is actually a sort of a one-off, one meeting ID. And as soon as that training session is actually complete, you're able to actually save all of the files and save the information from those training sessions. But again, it disappears. So that's really the main difference is the personal meeting room is available all the time and ready and up and running. The rest of them are actually more one-off events or very low number events.
Great, thank you, Mark. So I've just got another question here. How can I arrange for Netic to demonstrate any of these products mentioned today? I don't know whether, Rob, you want to jump on that one.
Yeah, of course. So I mean, from our perspective, obviously, at the end of this meeting, you'll have our details. Feel free to contact us if you want any particular trials of any of the products mentioned by Dave and how deep you want to go around those. We certainly can work with Cisco in either 30 or 60 or 90-day trials. It's also worth noting that we also can assist in making sure that all these trials are a success. So, typically with trials, we're pretty keen to make sure that we are engaged, to make sure that adoption's in place, and more importantly, that the products are used and deployed correctly. So feel free to reach out to myself, Dave, or Rick, who the details will be, I guess, at the end of this session.
Perfect. And then I've just got one more. This one, I guess, is another one from Mark. So in regards to WebEx, are we able to report on the utilization and ultimately the adoption of the various WebEx types, such as Event Center and Meeting Center?
Absolutely. So from the bottom up, from personal meeting rooms through to WebEx meetings and training and event center, everything is actually able to be reported on. So either you can look at your own reports for sessions that you've actually run or are running. Obviously the business can actually report on those as well. If you're looking at your own reports, you actually have that start from scratch. So if you've set up something like an event, or you've actually invited people to meetings, you're able to actually see if people have actually accepted and joined. Accepted. You're able to actually see if people have actually registered for events. There is an automation path behind that as well. So if you have actually invited somebody to an event or to a meeting and they haven't actually responded, you can actually set it to actually respond within a few days of the meeting starting. So again, you're able to actually use some of the tools that are actually sat in the event center and the WebEx meeting center to actually help automate some of your meeting setup. Once you actually are in the meeting itself, so during this meeting at the moment, we're able to actually pick up stats on who's joined, who's actually looking at the slides, who's actually looking at the information. So there is actually data that's there to actually help your marketing teams to be able to make the meetings more effective. And post meeting, you're able to actually pull a lot of data about like sort of join times, leave times. You're able to actually see what devices people have actually joined from. So again, should you get a security or a technical issue, you're able to actually identify some of those things. We've seen occasions in the past where certain devices had issues joining a meeting where other devices didn't actually have an issue. And so the business was able to actually identify that those devices needed to have some type of upgrade so that everybody was able to use it. And we always get that thing on WebExes where, oh, it's WebEx is down. It's never about the device, and like so the data that you actually get out of WebEx is that you're able to actually go and see how effective the WebEx was on those different machines. So you can actually pull quite a lot of interesting data. The point about the adoption side is that using content and actually putting content out in learning management systems and other platforms gives us the ability to actually see how much people have actually read up or know about the actual service. So what we can do is we can actually deliver communications and training information out to those users. It gives us an idea of how aware users are within the business of the platform, which should then equate to the 30, 60, 90-day reports that are actually available to see how those two sides are setting up. If everybody knows about it, everybody should be using it. If nobody knows about it, like sort of less people are going to be using it. So looking at metrics of training and communications as well as the metrics of usage are very closely linked from our side, and we work with customers to actually look at those to be able to work out what else needs to be done.
Fantastic. So that's the end of our Q&A for today. I'm going to hand over to Rob now just to talk about some of the trials that we have mentioned throughout the session.
Thank you, Laura. Yeah, so obviously, our website, links through here, and we'll send this to you anyway as well separately. Yeah, all the trials are on the Netic website, so feel free to reach out, click, and register. Or, if you have any further questions, and more importantly, if you want to deep dive more around specifically, the products we mentioned, the biggest one we've been getting lately is trials for Duo. For MFA, we've been getting quite a lot of those. We're pretty much geared up to set up trials for you guys. Just reach out, I said, to myself, Dave Fox, or Rick, and we'll do everything we can to assist and make sure that the trial is a success. Thank you very much.
Perfect. And just to kind of close today's session, just to kind of hammer home that message, please do keep in touch. If you've got any questions, you can either submit them via hello@netic.com, which is just our generic email address, or if there is someone that you would like to get in touch with separately, I am going to share their email addresses again. We'll share the recording of the session, we'll share the slides, and then we'll also share all of the separate links to each trial so that you've got kind of an easy way to navigate through that. And yeah, just thank you to our panelists for today. It's been a really useful and informative session. And again, thank you for joining, everyone, and have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you very much.